Hello! So I am starting a series on hormonal imbalances, the endocrine system, the nervous system, nutrition, and how it impacts your health. I talked to my husband and I said, boy, this is probably going to be exciting for somebody to look at the title of these videos and you see chronic fatigue, stress, and mineral imbalance, insulin resistance, PCOS, and hormonal imbalance, calming your nervous system through minerals, vitamins, and skeletal care, calming your nervous system through biblical basics and mast cell dysregulation and histamine intolerance. But to people who are affected by any of those, they understand how important it is to know what's going on in your body and why it's going on. And the reason why I'm addressing this is I'm a biblical counselor. I have my master's degree in it, and I did go to a specific college on purpose to understand the medical aspects of biblical counseling and how our body impacts our emotions. And it's a holistic view, not in the new agey sense, but in the fact that our mind and our body do affect our spiritual lives, and our spiritual lives do affect our mind and our body. And one thing that I am passionate about is the fact that we're here to please God and we're here to serve Him to the best of our ability. But when we are continually sick and tired, it limits our ministry opportunities. It limits our opportunities to meet face to face with people and disciple them, or to be a soul winner. It limits many different areas of our life. Not only that, it comes with it this package of being spiritually weakened because we don't make as good of a decision in times of temptation or trials when we are under stress, chronic fatigue, chronic pain. So they do all touch, and that's why I am doing this video series. I come to you with hope because I do believe that our bodies can heal if they are given the right nutrients. And I want to start out this video that I have several doctors or medical field personnel that influence this. I'm not just making it up, and I'll cite those sources, but this is a very important principle to understand when learning something, whether it's learning from a pastor or whether it's learning from a medical professor or a textbook or Google searching, that you can tell an honest teacher or a false teacher. Let's put it that way. You can tell a false teacher by what they don't tell you. You can go to a church and be like, wow, that was an amazing message. But if you stay there for a year, you will become imbalanced because they've left out some important things that you need to know in Scripture. The same thing happens in some medical circles, whether it's, I can't explain the why or the motivations, but the fact is that there are some very important things that are left out on Google searches or even in medical books and medical schools. So very good-hearted people who are going through these schools might not have even learned this just because it's not being taught. That doesn't mean that it's not true. So keep that in mind. Morley Robbins is the teacher that I learned this first video, the information on this first video, which is about chronic fatigue, stress, and mineral imbalance. And he said that he studied this side of the body for years, 7 years intensively, and he's just now able to weed through Google. So when I do a Google search, I always type in, this question with Morley Robbins because he's somebody who actually addresses it directly. So it's been 4 minutes for that, but this is for a whole video series. I need you to understand those premises. So in this video, we're going to talk about chronic fatigue, stress, and mineral imbalance. This is the foundational video of this whole series. I will refer to things that come back to here because this is the most important thing for you to understand in the discussion of your endocrine and nervous system. And this is cellular biology. This is how does your body create energy? Because if you're not creating enough energy, you're going to be chronically tired. And if you are chronically tired because your body doesn't have enough energy, then you don't have enough energy to process the needs of your day and the demands and the decision making. So you hear about decision fatigue. And therefore you come under stress because you don't physically have what it takes to do what you need to do to get your job done. And so then it just is this domino effect. So I'm going to go back to the very first domino of creating energy. And this is my goal for you, is to learn how to create energy in your body, not in some type of, let my light beams shine. Talking about physiological creating of energy. And that goes to what I refer to as the mighty microscopic mitochondria. The mitochondria is the energy factory of your body. So I just want to take you on a trip with me to the mitochondria factory. In this mitochondria, it requires two things alone I can't say two things alone, but largely it takes two things to create energy in the mitochondria. One is oxygen, and the other is glucose, which is another word for sugar, but not all sugars are glucose. So we're just going to say oxygen and sugar. Those two things. So on this side of the conversation, when it comes to chronic fatigue, I'm going to talk about the oxygen delivery side. So in our mighty mitochondria, the energy factory, we are going to talk about how oxygen gets there and what your body needs to get oxygen. Because a lot of time when you go to the doctor, I know I was diagnosed with anemia, which just means I don't have enough oxygen in my red blood cells. But the problem was not necessarily that I didn't have enough iron. It's just that the iron wasn't getting the oxygen to the mighty mitochondria. So how do I get the iron to do his job? So let's imagine that the iron is a waiter. So iron in your body is trying to deliver the oxygen to the mitochondria. But the iron cannot really handle that oxygen very well. The oxygen needs to be activated, and iron in contact with oxygen creates rust. And so there's just a chemical problem there. But God has a solution for that. So here's your iron who's waiting to deliver this oxygen to the table or to the doorway of the mitochondria factory. But he can't really do anything with this oxygen yet. He needs what I call the ceruloplasmin. So you imagine there's this nice metal platter with a lid, and the waiter carries it up to the next place. So the ceruloplasmin is technically the ceruloplasmin. It is made of copper. The ceruloplasmin or ceruloplasmin is technically called bioavailable copper. So when I talk of copper, I want you to understand that it's also synonymous with bioavailable copper and ceruloplasmin in this sense. So the iron needs this ceruloplasmin to carry the oxygen to the place that it needs to go, to the mitochondria. But how do we get the ceruloplasmin? How do we get the ceruloplasmin? Because copper comes into your body, but does it just have, is the copper in this ceruloplasmin? No. It needs retinol. So we're going to take one step back further. So before the iron can get the oxygen to the mitochondria, the iron needs the ceruloplasmin. For the ceruloplasmin to be made so that it is bioavailable, so that it can activate the oxygen and then be carried to the mitochondria, something has to create it, and that is retinol. Retinol can sometimes be referred to as vitamin A, but retinol is a fully formed version of vitamin A. It's not beta carotene. So retinol is ready to be used, and it's found in your animal fats. It's found in beef liver, butter, cheese, egg yolks. So it's found in animal fats. Not all animal fats, but when you find it, it's usually in an animal fat. So retinol is in your liver. And the retinol within your liver will form it. Imagine this little line of retinol just creating these little ceruloplasmins. And it takes the copper that you absorb through foods, and in an actual very specific order, it builds the ceruloplasmin for the copper to be in to activate the oxygen so that the iron can carry it to the mitochondria so that it can then be processed with the sugar and create energy. What we are lacking in our diet is the retinol and the copper. We have an abundant source of iron through our food, and our whole world has iron throughout it. We eat high protein diets. We are not lacking in iron. It's not always in your blood tests, but it's very often stored within your tissues and stored within your liver. We have a lot of iron in our bodies. What we don't have is the copper, the bioavailable copper in the form of the ceruloplasmin, and we don't have a lot of retinol. So what we do have is a lot of inactive iron causing iron toxicity throughout our body and causing hydrogen peroxide throughout our body. But let's just follow this. So we have the retinol who's ding, here's the ceruloplasmin, ding, here's the ceruloplasmin. So the ceruloplasmin activates the oxygen, gives it to the iron. Iron takes it to the mitochondria factory. It uses magnesium to do the process of creating energy, and then what happens in a factory is that then it creates smog. It's like a smoke monster billowing out hydrogen peroxide, and God knew that hydrogen peroxide, if you pour hydrogen peroxide on blood and it fizzles and all of that oxygen in your blood, and it has some not great effects, that hydrogen peroxide given off by there's 2 million mitochondria in a brain cell. So that's a lot of smog being put out through your cells. And you need copper at that point also. Copper is bioavailable copper. The ceruloplasmin is so important in your body because if you don't have enough, then it can't do its job to do the next process, which is to work with retinol. So you have ceruloplasmin and retinol here on the other side of the energy production, working with vitamin C and vitamin E, and those two are usually found together in foods. Like a red bell pepper has a lot of vitamin C and then vitamin E. Wheat germ. So those things, they come together, which is why it's always better. The goal is to get your foods, to get your nutrients through foods, because God combines the necessary ones together on purpose. So you're going to have your copper and your retinol, and then your vitamin C and your vitamin E, and they will work together to break down the hydrogen peroxide and turn it into 2 water molecules. So that's, and your body can reuse that. Your body is a recycling system. Not only that, but at this point, the iron that came in and delivered the oxygen, then God has a way to recycle the iron, so you don't need to be taking these crazy amount of supplements. That iron, then copper, ceruloplasmin, opens the door and says, iron, we're going to usher you out of the blood there since you've been used up. And you're going to go back to the little baby bone marrow nursery so that you can be part of tomorrow's red blood cell supply. So copper is integral in both the ceruloplasmin that activates the oxygen and then the process that takes the hydrogen peroxide and turns into water, and also in the recycling system of the iron so that it's not just festering in your body causing iron toxicity. That's just to get from your liver to your cells to then clean out your body. But also understand, because when we're looking at your cellular biology and touching with your endocrine system produces hormones, and hormones are not some thing that cause emotional disruptions. Hormones are messengers in your body. And so you have a thyroid hormone. Your thyroid hormone, they say your thyroid produces your metabolism. It sets the rate of, it's going to be a high metabolism or a slow metabolism. Essentially, that means that your thyroid hormone tells the mitochondria whether they have enough supplies, go, 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 or whoa, we do not have enough supplies. Let's slow things down. We don't want to overproduce when we don't have enough supplies to do it. So the thyroid hormone is actually an oxygen sensor. And so when it can sense that the retinol created the ceruloplasmin activated the oxygen, the iron was then able to take it to the mitochondria, bing! Then your pituitary gland and your thyroid communicate, they produce the hormone that gets your metabolism going. And all of those things are important for you to have energy. So just keep that in mind, that if you do not have retinol and copper, that oxygen isn't activated, it's not going anywhere, and then your pituitary gland is saying, we really, really need this, we need energy, we need copper, we need to create some energy, and things start dysregulating because it doesn't have what it needs. Let me see if that covered that, because I didn't even look at my notes. Retinol is available, the smog factory, the hydrogen peroxide. If copper is not available and you don't have your retinol and your vitamin C and vitamin E to disintegrate that hydrogen peroxide or break it up into the water molecules, it does start affecting your body, and it's called oxidative stress. You will hear the word oxidative stress over and over and over when we're talking about inflammation, PCOS, thyroid disease. Oxidative stress is just one of those generic words, and what that really means is it's the iron toxicity in your liver and the hydrogen peroxide billowing up in your body, and it goes through 4 stages. The first is that you do have the oxidative stress. You have that hydrogen peroxide that's not being broken down in your body. It should be, because you need to have that copper and retinol, and God will just turn it into water so that you can use it. 75% is how much water we have in us. The second stage, if you do not have the copper to turn that into water droplets, the second stage is inflammation. And you will hear so much about chronic inflammation. When there's chronic inflammation, we don't have one of the signs is that there's low vitamin D. It's not that low vitamin D causes inflammation. It's just that there's a cascade of things that then causes a depletion of vitamin D, but getting more vitamin D doesn't necessarily fix this problem. What you need is the copper and the retinol and the vitamin C and E together. So we're trying to deal with the hydrogen peroxide so we don't get inflammation. But if we don't do that, then we just have chronic inflammation. And that sets off a whole other things. And then after chronic inflammation, we tend to have cell death. And that's the body's way of saying, you know what, this has done too much damage to our body. We had the inflammation to try to call attention to the fact that there's problems going on here. We need this to be taken care of. But because people aren't dealing with the root of it, which is the need for the copper and the retinol and magnesium, but I'm going to talk about that in the third video. So we have cell death. And when somebody has been having these problems for, let's say, 10 years, then you will start seeing calcium deposits and nodules of cell death, and then your body will calcify it as a way of sealing off, saying this is no longer usable. So that is the basic idea, is that you want to stop the hydrogen peroxide smog, and you want the body to recycle the way that it's supposed to, turning that hydrogen peroxide into water and opening the door so that the iron can go back to the bone marrow so that it can be used the next day in your red blood cells. So that is how energy is created in your body. We need, you probably haven't even heard about retinol and copper, or we've heard a little bit more about magnesium, but definitely not retinol and copper, bioavailable copper to turn into ceruloplasmin. Where can you get that in your diet? Because I am going to consistently promote it in a food source, not a synthetic source. I highly recommend that you just throw away your multivitamins because they're synthetic and they don't operate in your body how we're told that they operate in your body. God, the closer you get to how God made it, the more of a synthesis, not a fake synthesis, not a synthetic, the more of a balance it works in your system, because God knew what needed what. So the food sources for copper, beef liver is probably the number one recommended way. I am working on finding ways. I have a family of 7. We all need it. It's not like just I'm the woman and therefore I need copper and retinol. Everybody needs copper and retinol. So you can get it through beef liver. So maybe make some beef liver pork jerky, smoke it, and have it as snacks throughout the week. But eat that weekly in some way that you can handle it. Or if you have enough money, you can buy desiccated beef liver tablets, which is just dried beef liver, but it's still a whole food source. And then magnesium. Magnesium is extremely important in the chronic stress, chronic inflammation. I'll talk about that in video 3. But you can do lots of research on what copper is in and retinol is in. But if you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck, it's probably going to be in beef liver. So let's go to the second video, which is the other half of creating energy. So we just talked about the oxygen side of things. Now let's talk about insulin resistance, PCOS, hormone imbalance, not being able to ovulate. And, you know, insulin resistance isn't just a female thing. That's the beginning stages of heart disease and diabetes. So we all have to take a look at insulin resistance, what causes it, how to stop it from going on in your body.